So there's different avenues that we can take to get to the goals that you have. You don't have to just box yourself in, to having one way of getting there. So just being, learning how to be strategic on reaching the goals that you have. You don't always have to, follow the same path that everybody else is taking.
Hello, everyone. This is Tim Brown, author of the book, Boys Won't Be Boys. And I'm blessed to have with me Karim Jackson, that Jackson family name is a great name here in Columbus. Has done a lot of great things. I've known his dad for a while, being a successful basketball coach and at Walnut Ridge High School, and just doing a lot of great things in the community. Karim, welcome to the show.
Yeah, appreciate having me on, Coach Brown. I'm really looking forward to the conversation we're going to have today.
Yeah, I wanted to have a conversation with you in reference to, first off, this is a mentoring series where we talk about, we'll be talking to men about mentoring young men, getting men ready for that next generation. So in your experience in growing up, who were some of those mentors in your life? Some of those men that came alongside you through your travels, through high school, through college, and even career-wise. Who are some of those men that'll help you develop who you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. Growing up in Columbus, like you mentioned, my dad was a educator and a coach in Columbus City schools for many years. So just, of course, starting at home, my parents were my first mentors. Then having three older siblings, of course, I, always ran behind them, wanted to do what they were doing. So always had my eyes on them, seeing what they were doing. So just having a solid home foundation was, my first piece of mentorship. And then as I grew up, playing sports growing up, and just being involved in the community, one of the things that my parents really instilled in me and my siblings were it does take a village to raise a child. So doing a lot of things within the community, different leadership programs and things like that, they were able to kind of supplement what they were teaching at home, and having other people and, caring adults around me to kind of add on to, that foundation that we had at home. So just like I said, growing up throughout the city, having different types of relationships with especially Black men in the community, they want to make sure that I didn't just only see my dad as a Black man and that being the only role model I saw. So I was able to, build a lot of relationships with different coaches, different supervisors and, bosses that I had as far as internships and jobs that I've had. And then even going on to college, playing college athletics at Wilberforce University. Of course, having my coaching staff there that were all Black men, and being the HBCU that it is, I was surrounded by not only Black men, but Black women that, kind of had the same path that I had growing up. So they understood who I was as a person and was able to pour into me that way as well.
Good. That's good stuff. Being on the front line today, which is what you are. And as you watch these young men, what are some of the things that you think young Black boys need today to be successful? What is our role as men to impart?
Being the coach at Walnut Ridge High School, again, where I graduated from, and also being in education, I'm a college advisor at Columbus Downtown High School. I think one of the main things that our young men are missing is seeing people that look like them in those types of settings. We a lot of coaches. We have a lot of Black coaches in the city, but as far as in the classroom, they might not see that pretty often. I think when I was coming up through Columbus City schools, I didn't have my first Black male teacher until I was in the 6th grade. So going from, preschool all the way through 5th grade, all I had were female teachers, and only a few of them were, teachers of color. So I think it's very important that we can find a way to get more teachers of color, specifically Black male teachers of colors in the classroom earlier, so they have someone that they have some comfort in. They can trust that person, because a lot of times I find being in the building, they go into the classroom and get disciplined by teachers that don't look like them, and then maybe the first time or that they've been disciplined by someone that doesn't look like their mom or their dad or their uncle or their grandma. So I think it's very important for us as adults to express the importance of having Black teachers in the building, especially Black male teachers, and figure out a way to create some type of pathway for students to become teachers.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I've been on that as well. That we definitely need that. I was blessed to have. I grew up in East Cleveland, so I went to Shaw High School. And I know your dad's from Cleveland as well.
Yep,
But
yep.
I was blessed to have my first teacher actually was my sixth grade teacher. Was my first black male teacher. I was Mr. Clayton Burrows, and I'm
Okay.
still in touch with Mr. Burrows today. Actually, Mr. Burrows is a Wilberforce graduate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice, nice.
and he always reminds us he was captain of the basketball team back in the day. Yeah,
All right,
Mr.
I'm gonna
Burrows.
have to
But
meet him.
yeah, well, you got to beat him. But he was the first black male that I saw in what you said in authority, so to speak. He
Hmm.
was in authority, and he was also the first black male that I saw of excellence. And
Right,
when I saw
right.
Mr. Burrows, I said, I want to be just like him.
Hmm.
I want to be just like him. So to this day, I'm still trying to be as cool as Mr. Burrows, because he
Right,
was
right.
young,
Yeah.
fresh out of college, right from Wilberforce University,
Hmm.
so he came in there, he was going to change the world, but he sure impacted me in a way that even today, a lot of what I do is things I learned from Mr. Burrows. So speaking of that, a lot of those things that you picked up from men in your life, what are some of those things that you're passing on? I know you have two sons. What are those things you're passing on to your son? What are some of those qualities you want your sons to have?
Yeah, you kind of touched on it earlier. Is first and foremost is having our last name is Jackson, and that means a lot to us. Um, so continue the legacy that my parents and my grandparents, my great grandparents have instilled and passed through the generations. That's the first thing we kind of pour into our sons and our kids is number one, you're going to be a Jackson. Like my dad. Everywhere I go, people look at me and say, you look familiar. What's your dad's name?
Right, right.
And I tell them, Jesse Jackson. And I was like, okay, yeah, I know that face when I see it. So wherever I go, I have eyes on me.
Yeah.
And that's the first That's the first thing people recognize is I'm a Jackson. So I have to make sure I'm doing things the right way, treating people the right way. So that's I think that's the first thing that we instill in our children is you're going to be a Jackson wherever you go in the city or the state or wherever. People gonna know somebody that you want to make sure that when you leave that place that they're going to say, okay, that I can tell that person's a Jackson because they do things the right way.
Yeah, that's good. And in the book, Boys Won't Be Boys, I talk about the value of a name, how important, because a man, all we have is our name, you know. And we grew up when kids were not doing it, when we weren't doing what we're supposed to. The first thing they would ask you, who's your people? Who's
Right,
your people?
right,
Who's your people? And they ain't so they ain't worrying about you. They want to know who your people are,
right,
because we knew that we had to represent our name, and not only the value of our name, but we had to protect our name, and we had to add some value to the name. And
right.
I'm so excited that what you guys are doing with the Jackson Leadership Academy, how you're adding value to the name and leaving that legacy. So can you tell the audience what's the inspiration behind the Jackson Leadership Academy? What's the goal, purpose, and what are you guys trying to do with that?
Yeah. So me and my father and my wife, we started the Jackson Sports and Leadership Academy about 6 years ago. The way it was started was I was coaching a middle school team that my son was on at the time. And after the season, I told the kids, if you want to, still get some work in the gym, just let me know. I'll figure something out. Thinking that, I'll get one or two kids to call me back or whatnot. But I had every single kid on the team say, coach, I still want to practice. I still want to, get some skill training in. So that's when we decided to start the academy. And, a lot of times, we can always get kids to come out to sports events or,
Mm-hmm.
Sports clinics and whatnot. But it's more to it than just sports. So, of course, we had the sports piece of to be the foundation of it, but we say we need to add the leadership development piece. So what we did was we have 3 different sessions throughout the year, about 6 weeks long. They're about 2 hours long, and then we bring them in. We do some skill development training, and then the second half of the session would be leadership training. So we would have different speakers come in. Where it's just leadership training, career exploration, motivational speakers, so things of that sort to kind of use the sports as a carrot to get them in the door, and then give them that extra toolage that they can use, in different areas of their life.
Yeah, that's powerful because we know sports is that carrot, that gets them in the door. And then
Right,
we have an
right.
opportunity to add those other things to it, those life skills that we have opportunity to add to it. And I think sometimes in sports, we gotten away from guys think it's just playing the game, but it's more to the
Hmm.
game. So from your experience in sports in middle school, high school, and college, what are some of those life skills that you learned through sports that you're using right now?
'em. Oh, absolutely. Definitely, of course, teamwork, working with people. Because once you get into the real world, and unless you're, an entrepreneur, you own your own boss, you're gonna have to work with people. So
Mhm.
that's, one of the things, of course, that sports teaches is, how to work with people, how to give and take sometimes, working through obstacles, working through hurdles. It's not going to be easy at all times. Sometimes when it comes to sports, you think you're doing well, coach might not, agree. So you might have to sit sometimes, and figuring out, okay, what I have to do to get back on the floor. And that translates to life. Things aren't going to go your way all the time. Figure out how to make that turn, and get through and above that obstacle that you have. Um, and then also just understanding that sports isn't the end all be all.
Mm.
Especially in high school, kids, they all want to, play at the next level and think that, being the best or, scoring 20 points a game is the only way to get there. For me personally, I didn't have a athletic scholarship. I had an academic scholarship. And I was also a 4-year starter on my basketball team at the collegiate level. So there's different avenues that we can take to get to the goals that you have. You don't have to just box yourself in, to having one way of getting there. So just being, learning how to be strategic on reaching the goals that you have. You don't always have to, follow the same path that everybody else is taking, but you do want to, use other people's wisdom.
Mhm.
And then, if they have a blueprint on how to get, to that next level, whatever it is, athletics, career, whatnot, use people's wisdom. But at the same time, you have the flexibility to kind of do things your own way.
Mm. That's good. Being I know I can't advise. I know you're helping young people get into college, which is your job now. What would you say to young men to encourage them during this virtual time? Not just doing it, we're in this virtual time, but we're also in a time of upheaval, so to speak, in our country, with social
Hmm.
justice and those things that are going on. How would you encourage? I mean, a young man is watching television, seeing all these things going on. He's at home, not able to go into a classroom. What words would you give to encourage a young man?
First, I would say is, find somebody that you trust to talk to.
Hmm.
Especially, being home almost, 24/7. Parents may have to work outside of the home. So a lot of times I might be home by themselves. And they don't have, people to talk to, at all times. So find an adult, a coach, a teacher that you trust. And, it's okay to have conversations outside of sports or outside of, just academics. So that's one thing when I started working in the classroom was instead of starting with just instruction and curriculum, I just want to start a relationship with my students.
Mhm.
So get to know them, be vulnerable and allow them to get to know me as a person, and kind of break that middle ground. So, they can see me as, just, regular guy, that they can meet off the streets or whatnot. A lot of times you might run into a students out shopping or at a movie or something, and they look at you crazy, like, what are you doing here? Like
Right,
you live
right,
at the school or something.
right.
So when they can see you as a person and, just, an uncle figure or a father figure or whatnot, you can really get to know that student. But yeah, like during these times, it's tough for everybody, for
Mhm.
students, for kids, for adults. But I think it's very, very important that they have somebody that they can have an outlet to, that can talk to, about whatever it is, sports, girls, academics, just life in general. I think that's the most important thing is having a caring adult that they can reach out to and talk to.
Good, good. So you've issued a great challenge to us as men, that what our role is now, how important our role is now, and how we can have an
Absolutely.
impact on young men today. And I think a lot of what you do and what I do is because there's others who came alongside us, who
Oh,
poured into
absolutely.
us, who helped us along the way. We just didn't show up. There was some men that we watched and kind of like you was talking about internships and just giving us opportunities. And if I can say anything to men, I would encourage men to just provide an opportunity for a young man for success. Just provide an opportunity for a young man for success. It doesn't have to be a big thing for a guy, just come alongside. And I think your presence in those buildings is so important. I tell men all the time, boys don't need your presence. They need your presence. They need to see us. And like you
Right,
said,
right.
seeing somebody that looks like them in the building, and in that way they can inspire to be that. So as we wrap up, when we think about the Jackson family, legacy and just the name of the Jackson, what would you want people to remember about the Jackson family?
I kind of mentioned it earlier as just when they've had experiences with us, conversations and whatnot, they know they're going to get some quality out of
Mhm.
whatever it is that we're bringing to the table. They know we're going to follow up what we're going to say we're going to do. We're going to give our best effort. And then even beyond that, we're going to give ourselves and our resources to help other people. Like I mentioned, we have our academy that's skill development, leadership development. But we also have a scholarship that we award to Columbus City Schools student athletes that go on to the next level, and not just be athletes. If you play high school in Columbus City Schools, if you play sports in Columbus City Schools, and you go on to college just as a regular student, you will be eligible for our scholarship. So it's not just for students that go on to play in college; it's just for students, period, that go on to the next level. So again, just giving what we have and what we can, and knowing that we're going to try to continue the greatness that our ancestors laid upon us. And if my sons go out, like as for me when I was growing up, they knew who I was because of my dad. I want my children to have that same type of conversations when they meet people. Who's oh, I know your dad, he's a great guy, or I know your mom, she's a great woman. So just continue that legacy that my parents, my grandparents, and so forth led for us.
Wow, this is great. It's great hearing that from a young man like yourself, who understands how important that is and who just understands our history as people.
Absolutely.
We're great people,
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
when guys know their history and understand that, I think they would strive to do better, and that's what we strive to do. Yeah,
you have to have accountability.
Yeah, we strive to do better, because we want the next generation. We always want the next generation to be better, and I'm sure that's what your parents did, and that's what you're pointing to your kids,
Absolutely.
They'll take that next step, and then the grandkids will take that next step.
Mm-hmm.
We have a commitment in our family where we're committed to helping each one of our kids. I have 3 children. We're committed to helping each one of them get a master's degree. We're supporting that, but their role is to make sure that our grandkids get a PhD.
Right.
Somebody gonna be a real doctor, a real PhD. Not all this stuff. You're a doctor, it's doctor. No. I need to see the paper. Where's some real PhD.
My 16-year-old, he gets frustrated with me all the time because I have him, join a lot of different, leadership groups and have him doing, different things out in the community. Of course, he wants to stay home and just play the game all day, but just trying to instill in him, I want you to be better off. When I left my parents' home and became an adult, I want you to be better off than I was when I left. So he's trying to get that, he's getting close to that time where he has to, make decisions on his own. So he's trying to get it now. But like you said, we wanted them to be better off than we were.
Mm-hmm. As we wrap up, can you share with our audience how they can support the Jackson Leadership Academy? How can they get in touch with you to support that great work that you guys are doing?
Yeah, of course, with COVID, we've had to, make a pivot on our training and development and whatnot. But you definitely can reach out to me by cell phone, 614-859-2784. As soon as things open back up, we'll be back in the gyms training K through 8. So definitely a great opportunity to get your kids some athletic training, but at the same time, get them some skill developments and life lessons. Then also, if you would like to donate to our scholarship fund, we would gladly take some donations for that. This would be our 3rd year offering scholarships, and we gave out $3,000 in scholarships over 3 years. So, of course, we'd like to give out more. So any support in that venture would be greatly appreciated as well.
All right. Hey, well, I appreciate your time. This has been a rich conversation, but I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to continue doing what you're doing and know that you are, you and your family are truly making a difference in the lives of young people. But most importantly, I want to applaud you for your children and for your wife and the initiatives you guys are taking. And an example, you are that model family that's needed. I think we as these young men, when we talk about mentoring, but they also need to see success. They need to see men that are married with children that are, doing the right thing, and that's part of that. Because I think a lot of things with boys and mentoring, it's not necessarily taught, but it's caught. They watch us, trust me, they're watching how you walk in that building. I've been to downtown high school, and I know the admiration that those students have for you. I watched that Walnut Ridge basketball team, and I know how much respect they have for you and that staff there. They're just watching. They're watching, like you said, how we handle situations, how we deal with adversity, how we deal with things. They're watching us right now. They're really watching us right now.
Oh yeah,
We're
definitely,
handling this.
definitely.
And to see you getting up every day and still plugging away, still going to work, still calling them, still
Right,
helping.
right.
You're like, man, you still help me get in college? I mean, we ain't even in school. You trying to tell me I can still go to college, but we know that there's a better day coming. There's a better
Yep,
day.
yep. I mean, just a great example. I had one of my students from 2018. He emailed me yesterday, saying, things didn't go as planned at the institution he was at. And wants me to help him, transfer to another school. So, like you said, they're watching, they remember.
Yes.
And it's people like my dad, it's people like you, who you guys brought us along, and kind of passing that baton, passing that torch down to us for us to do the same things for those kids behind us.
That's good. All right. Well, I appreciate you. Thanks, and have a great day. And I'll be praying for you and your family.
All right, appreciate that, Coach. Thanks for having me on.